Join me this week as I show you how to take some simple polymer clay and make a really fun mug for your dolls. Stay tuned and see how easy this project is. Alright, in order to make our mugs, first you need to do a little bit of prep work. The most important thing you'll need is a wooden dowel that's 1 inch in diameter, and it needs to be cut to 2.5 inches, 3 inches long. Over 2 inches, it doesn't need to be any more than 3, anywhere's in that neighborhood. And then I wrapped it in a piece of parchment paper, which I glued only to itself. It is slightly loose. As you can see, I can move the dowel inside the parchment, but it's snug to the wood. That's important, because if it's not snug to the wood, it will be a problem. The other thing you need to have ahead of time is a strip of paper. And this is cut the full width, 8.5 inches long, of just printer paper, and it's 1 1/4 inch top to bottom. I'll have that measurement and a picture of this on the blog post. And this you'll see what we're going to use for in a minute. Now I'm going to show you how to do a kind of a marbled color on this mug. You can make these any way you want. If you're good at painting, you could paint them. You can do anything. So to do a marble color, first thing I'm going to do is I've kneaded up my clay. Now you will want a slightly firmer clay, and that's another thing to check the blog post for, because I actually filmed this yesterday and ended up tossing the video I made yesterday. So this is Primo Cad Yellow, and this is Fimo Mandarin, I believe. So I've made just some snakes. These are pretty well conditioned, although it's a little chilly in here this morning, so they've firmed up a bit just in the length of time I was talking. Let's see, do I need this one? I'm going to put part of this on. I'm not going to use all of it. You don't want to make this super even. Now we're going to roll this so it's nice and smooth. Kind of twist it around. And then I'm going to roll it through my pasta machine. Now if you don't have a pasta machine, don't worry. You can use a roller. You can roll it out with a rolling pin. It's fine. Doesn't that look funky now? This looks really weird yet. Don't worry. It'll look cool here in a little bit. It's going to look funnier before it looks better. But I thought it would be a good idea to show you the entire process so that you can see that just because we start out with something that looks really weird, it can turn out really cool. And this is pretty unpredictable. I really never know what I'm going to get when I do this. So I think that side's more interesting. Put that side on the outside. If one side looks more interesting than the other, I'll usually try to keep that to the outside rather than the inside when I fold. And I just fold and roll it thinner, fold and roll it thinner. It's looking pretty good, I think. I like to take these crumbly edges because they typically don't get as well conditioned. I'm going to put that on the back side. Put the crumbly edges to the middle. That way they'll get more worked into the clay. That's just something I like to do. I made a really cool design. Let's fold it this way now. I mean, there's no right or wrong way here. You just want a strip of clay. Now, I have a 1-inch circle cutter. I'm going to cut a 1-inch strip of circle of clay. Now I'm going to roll this through my pasta machine one more time. Yep, that was the wrong side of the blade. That's why it wasn't cutting. Cut one edge smooth, so you have a nice straight edge for the bottom. And I think I like this side. I'm going to before I pick this up, I'm going to pick this 1-inch piece up, this 1-inch circle, kind of press it onto your dowel. Be sure and check the blog post. I'll go into more detail about the dowel, about all the different steps. Now, cut this. I know that this is not, I'm hoping this is tall enough. If it's not, I guess you won't know because I'll be refilming again. I'll make this a little shy of meeting because it's better to work it together. You don't want it to overlap. This is just a clay tool. It's got a soft point on it. You can use anything. You can use your finger. We're going to try and get rid of this seam. Also use the ball end a little bit. You just need to. And don't lose your scraps yet because we still need to make the handle on the mug. And that will be under the handle, so it won't show as much. There, not all the way to the end of the dowel. Kind of disguise this. You notice I'm supporting the edge with my fingers, my finger and thumb, so that it doesn't pull away from the dowel. And I'm trying to work mostly in, but I'll have to work out some too. Now, if I wasn't doing a video, I would spend more time and I would get this more smooth there. Roll this, make this as smooth as I can. Now that strip of paper, yes, we got that just enough clay there. Line this up with the bottom of your mug and wrap this around your form. This is our easy way to measure. I wanted something foolproof for cutting the edge. I'm going to take our knife. This is barely wide enough piece of clay. If I hadn't marbled the clay, if this was a solid color, I would have went back and re-rolled it, but I didn't want to re-roll the marbling anymore. I was going to start losing my pretty design. Alright, now you've got a couple of choices. You can leave this top edge the way it is, or you can do like we're going to today. Take just a little bit of clay and form a snake. And it wants to be a pretty thin snake. Put your scrap of paper there off to the side for your next mug. This wants to be as even as you can get it. And it's not getting even, so I'm going to start over. I'd rather re-roll it than have it be not even. It doesn't matter so much if this is marbled. Now I think I'm getting enough that I can get around the mug, keeping in mind where your seam is, so you can keep all your seams kind of together. I'm going to cut this. And we want this top to be as straight as we can get it. Use our And again, if I wasn't doing a video, I would spend a lot more time and just fiddle with this, but I don't want the video to be you know, an hour long showing you how to make one mug. Now, get a nice pretty part of your clay. I'm going to actually roll these through the pasta machine again. Now you can either make your handle out of a snake or out of a strip. I'm going to do a strip today. And you can make it as chunky or as thin as you want, depending on how you think your doll would find it most comfortable to hold. I like to cut the end off at an angle. Now I'm going to find that seam again. I'm going to pick up my handle off my board, and I'm going to put this on upside down. The side I want to have showing on my handle is this side. Putting it up off the top. And I'm going to use my clay tool to work this in and make it nice and smooth. And get it firmly on. Then I'm going to bring my handle down. And I'm going to cut it off. Now you could also wrap it around. I'll show you some others I've done at the end of the video, so you can see some other options for doing handles. And then go look at mugs, you know, online and in your kitchen, and just pick some that you like. All right. When you're happy with how this looks, bake it according to the clay directions, the directions on your packages of clay. If you're using two brands like I am, and one calls for a higher temperature than the other, go by the lower temperature required. This needs to bake approximately 10 minutes to get it nice and firm, and then it will need to cool off completely to room temperature before we proceed with the next step. So I'm going to go bake this, let it cool, and I'll be back. Alright, so this is baked and it is cooled. So very carefully, and don't hold on to the handle when you do this. Hold away from the handle and just kind of twist. By having this paper on here, and I don't remember if I talked about the paper when I was talking about setting up the dowel, the paper allows us to loosen up. And what I've done, because I have no idea if I said this in the beginning of the video, this is just a strip of parchment paper from the kitchen, and it's glued to itself, not to the dowel. I'll go into more detail on the blog post. Alright, so now it's time. If you had any really awful edges, you could sand them off now. This looks actually I like the texture a little bit. I think it looks kind of cool on this one. So now it's time to put a clear finish on the outside. Because we are going to be doing the outside, I want to hang it. So I've got this. This is just a container of scribbles that's sitting on my desk, on my table from a project a few days ago. I'm using, to make it look like ceramic or stoneware, I'm using triple thick. This has become my go-to finish for making polymer clay look like ceramic. It works really well. And I like to use a really soft brush when I put on a clear finish. Almost what I think an artist would call a mop brush. It's really soft. I find that it works the best for this. Just be sure you wash it out quickly. Okay, my camera battery our camera card got completely filled in the middle of that. So I'm not sure what I was saying when it quit recording. So we're using triple thick. I like to put a single coat, go a little heavy. Now it started to set up, so it's this is going to be kind of a funky coat, I'm afraid. But we'll finish putting this coat on. And you'll have to watch for drips. Now what I do after I get the whole outside done, except for the bottom, I like to use something to help me hold it still. And now this side, this coat needs to dry. As soon as this is dry, I'll come back, we'll coat the inside, and this will be finished. And then I'll show you some of the others I've made. Alright, so this is dry now. So we need to finish, I want to finish the inside. And the way I do that, I just squirt some of the triple thick inside. And then I work it up the sides of the cup with my brush. This way, if there's any extra, it just pools at the bottom. And it's contained there. I don't have to throw it away or clean it up or anything. It's just there. Alright, so there's our orange one that we made. And I love how this one looks. It's pretty cool. It's got some interesting texture. Told you I'd show you some of the others I made this week, and then I will put pictures of them on the blog. This one is a blue. It's hard to see the marbling on this one. This was the first marbled one I made. There's a slight marbling to it. The colors of this purple one I think are really neat. Both of these have some gold paint just brushed on. I'm hoping the camera's picking it up. It's hard to tell. Let's see. This one I really like, and this is just made out of my scrap clay. This was one of my first ones. This was, I think, the second one I made. This was actually the first one I made. They were made just out of scrap clay. So I like to, what I mean by scrap clay is like this, I can't throw back into the package with the rest of the clay. And since there's not enough to save to do with anything, I'll throw it in my bag of scrap clay when I want to make up, if I've got an idea for something to make. I'll grab a handful of clay out of there and mix it together and try out my ideas. Now this next one I'm going to show you is my very favorite one. I thought this one turned out really cute. I curly cued the bottom and I made the band around the top and the handle a contrast. I think this one turned out so cute. Looks like I've managed to get a... I apparently did not let this dry all the way before I touched it, so I've got a fingerprint. So I'm going to have to recoat the outside, but I love how that one came out. I've got a couple others over there that are, not too great. I'll put pictures of probably all of them onto the blog post, so be sure and check the blog. I'll also tell you a little bit about my adventures with yesterday and how yesterday did not work and why. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you make some mugs, be sure and send me a picture of them, especially if you're on our Facebook page. I love to see pictures of what you're doing. Like I said, check the blog posts. There's usually more information there, and there's blogs over there that don't have videos with them. So if you follow the blog, you'll learn even more. And until next time, have fun with your dolls, and come back next week and see what we make then.